Yeah, welcome to the Weege Show, off-season edition, but we have had some serious news breaking, and what I'm talking about is the fact that now that my son has turned 6, I'm not allowed to accompany him to the starting gate of the BMX track anymore, which means I could stand around all day, or I could rent a BMX bike and actually do some riding myself. So luckily I do have motocross gear, courtesy of the fine folks at Fly Racing, and I did not want to rent a cruiser bike because the cruiser bike is the easier bike, but that's the only adult rental bike they have. And it's really hard to find bikes right now because it's Christmas time, but more importantly, maybe you've heard that like every outdoor activity on earth is exploding in popularity. And if you go to your local power sports dealership, it's hard to find product. If you go to your local bicycle dealership, it's hard to find product. I don't really care. Renting a bike is fine for me, except it costs money that I would rather just spend on buying, which kind of hurts. And also, I'm sure you like my rig today. Normally, I pump the Honda Ridgeline on this show, but I actually have to say, even though the show is brought to you by Honda, I have a little bit of a beef with the brand and the Ridgeline truck. See, my wife actually likes driving the Ridgeline a lot, and then it allowed her to go buy furniture because now she has a truck that she likes to drive and put furniture in. So now I'm spending money on furniture. I should have just kept the Jeep that couldn't fit anything in it. And the minivan at least restricted the size of furniture to a degree. So yeah, she's off buying antique furniture and spending my money in the truck that I bought. Let's talk about that power sports industry, okay? Yes, it's all brought to you by Honda and the 2021 CRF 450R. Put your competition on notice every time you go to the gate. If you listened to the Pulp MX show last Monday, they talked about, with Trey Kennard and Chris Kiefer, 2 riders who tested that machine and helped develop it, a lot of work on the power delivery of that bike to actually improve the handling and the cornering through the way it delivers power. And Kiefer said what he found is that the bike has more power and is faster, yet somehow is good for traction also, which you normally can't get both at once, but that was really what Honda focused on. And we'll see. Go check it out at your Honda Power Sports dealership because they're probably all going to be gone soon. It's the way the bikes work here in 2020 going into 2021. All right, the breaking news on this show was really not that I was riding a BMX bike today and not racing, but that'll probably going to be happening soon. The big news is here in this Charlotte, North Carolina area, Joe Gibbs Racing and the motocross team is done. Oh, here's my boys. This is my guy Lane, and right behind him is buddy Tyler from down the road. What's up? More laps for them here at Rock Hill BMX. This is like a world-class, literally world-class state-of-the-art facility we get to ride at just south of Charlotte. But the industry in this area has been rocked quite a bit as of late. You've probably heard that NASCAR has gone through some major changes as of late, and a little bit off to the side of that, the JGR motocross team is done. Now, we were tracking this story for a while. It's been on the ropes the last couple of years. With Suzuki, their support was at one point very, very good. JGR actually invested big time, and they opened up a 250 team as well. They moved a lot of people from California, experienced motocross people, to North Carolina. They actually redoubled their efforts for a while with Suzuki. But then last year around this time, we heard that Suzuki wanted to reduce the amount of money they were going to give the team. The team negotiated hard. They got the original budget, I think, and then some back. But then Suzuki again wanted to spend less this year. But I don't want to blame this entirely on Suzuki because JGR MX has been unable to get a title sponsor the last couple of years as well. And that's really the discussion of this story. I've talked about the Suzuki thing before. This is just simple math. For the majority of the history of this sport, we've had 4 brands that race hard, race to the top, spend money, have good race-winning factory teams. 4. We have 6 right now because KTM has obviously become a force, and now they brought Husqvarna along with them. And we might even have another soon with this Gas team with Justin Barsha in the 450 class. If Suzuki was healthy, we would be saying that there are 7 brands that could potentially have teams that could win races. The motocross racing market has never historically been able to support 7 brands at the top level. To me, it was almost inevitable that we were going to have winners and losers. And KTM and Husqvarna and maybe Gas are growing so much, those sales, that market share had to come from someone. It appears that Yamaha, Kawasaki, Honda, they are clearly investing. They have new product coming. They want to win races bad, and they're making changes to try to get better and better all the time. It's a good battle there between the boys. But Suzuki, this is the weird thing. They kept getting this reputation for their bikes being old while they were actually winning. I mean, remember, Ken Roczen actually left KTM to ride a Suzuki. Remember, James Stewart left the JGR Yamaha to ride a Suzuki. The success that Suzuki had on the track somehow didn't spill into people buying the product. I don't quite understand how that happened. You'd like to think of racing as a win on Sunday or Saturday and sell on Monday thing. For whatever reason, the marketing, the branding, something, it didn't rub off on Suzuki, and then eventually the bike did get long in the tooth. It was a very good bike. Most people who have ridden those RMZ 450s over the last 10 to 15 years all say it's great, but eventually familiarity is good, but new technology gets better. And once there was a real line in the sand, I think, drawn between everybody has electric start and Suzuki doesn't. Let's be honest, I don't think electric start really is the difference between winning races and not. There's been approximately 1 billion motocross races won on kickstart bikes, but it just was a real way to brand the Suzuki as outdated, to brand the Suzuki as old school. And I think the sales have reflected that from what I've heard, but they're a very, very, very carefully kept secret in this industry. Sales. We wouldn't want people to talk about this like they talk about sales of iPhones or cars or pretty much any other product that for some reason releases these numbers. I don't know why the motorcycle industry is so secretive about that. It'd be really fun to talk about, wouldn't it? Maybe it'd even get some more interest in the sport if we talked about these things. But no, we're just going to assume that Suzuki has their issues. So their support is waning with JGR, but JGR would have been fine if they could have secured a title sponsor, and I think that's the part that's bumming more people out. What's wrong with the model? What's wrong? Why can't these teams get sponsors? I'm going to reveal to you a significant factor that you have probably not considered. It is very fun to poke fun at the industry or the promoters or the marketing teams or the riders or something and blame them for not getting sponsors. Like, oh, maybe if the riders are more professional, or maybe if they were less professional and more fun. Maybe if they were better spokespeople. Maybe if the teams have better marketing people. That's usually where the blame goes. But here's a real factor, and I've gotten this from the JGR people themselves, because they have to sell much, much bigger deals on the NASCAR side, and that's not easy either. And yes, the NASCAR ratings aren't as big as they once were. The crowds aren't as big as they once were, even in 2019 when we didn't have COVID to deal with. Yes, the crowds are smaller in NASCAR, but there's a bigger problem. Outside external force. You know, 15 years ago, if you had a company, you wanted to get the word out on your brand, you wanted to get people interested, you didn't have the option of Google or Facebook or social media. Didn't exist. Guess what? It does now. It exists in a massive way. Such a massive way that actually there was some investigations into monopoly of power. And the monopoly that Congress and the Senate were focused on was how Google has a monopoly on search. But let me tell you what the monopoly on search leads to. They have a monopoly on advertising. Anyone with half a brain running a company can do simple math. If you want to spend $500,000 on ads or $1 million on ads, you are going to get more for your buck with Google, who can track people on their phones, who can target the ads, who has clickable ads that you can actually track how many people clicked and how long they stayed and what they looked at. We all know that when you go to Amazon and then every other website you go to for the rest of the day, the ad is in your face for that product you were looking at. What other service can offer that to an advertiser? A logo on the hood of a car can't. A logo on a semi-truck and the radiator shroud of a motocross biking team can't do that. That is an external force that I don't know how the racing industry rectifies, because another thing is, you can't just cut the budget. Like, there's a certain amount of money that it takes to go racing effectively. Let's say a motocross team wanted $1 or $2 million from a title sponsor, and the title sponsor now says, you know, we have better options out there. We can get a lot out of Google for 500 grand. Would you take 500 grand? It's very hard for a team to say, wow, we used to get $2 million and now we're going to get 75% less. So this is a reckoning, and I don't know how to solve it, but I just want to know that, yes, hey, we can say it's the marketing of the teams or the marketing of the series or the TV package or whatever. I want to blame for, you know, Geico has lost, the Geico Honda team has lost Geico and now the team is gone. And JGR hasn't had a title sponsor in a couple of years and now the team is gone. I wish it were easier. But the reality is, there's competition for sponsorship advertising dollars that did not exist just a brief time ago, 10, 15 years ago. And that is really stretching these teams to the limit. Now, as far as the JGR thing, I'll do another one to talk about my memories of that team. It's the team that's probably nearest and dearest to me, because that is the local motocross team here in this Charlotte area. They brought a lot of industry heavies and a lot of great racers into the area. And there were very, very high hopes for this squad going back. Let's see, they started in 2008 racing season, but 2007 is where the team really had birth. And I think everyone figured, give it 10 years, give it 12 years, and that'll be the new model. You'll see a lot of NASCAR teams and race car teams involved. They'll have outside sponsorship, and we're gonna move toward a private model. Guess what? There's a couple things we've proven that remain true. The industry really only has room for 4, maybe 5 successful manufacturers at one time. And the racing model that works is still the factory model, and that's not going to make a lot of people happy. We were here racing last night with Chad Reed, and Chad could tell you all about what it's like to run a team and try to beat the factories. You guys going back out?
Yeah. No, we're
Taking a little break. Good, that means I don't have to ride. Chad Reed can tell you, and Coy Gibbs, who operated the Joe Gibbs program, and team manager Jeremy Albrecht can tell you, here's the problem running a private team. You can't afford to lose money consistently. If you're a factory race team, that's literally the goal. You're losing money, you're spending money on racing to promote the greater good, which is selling motorcycles. If you're a private team in this sport, you're not selling motorcycles. You don't have that, we're losing money on racing to pay for the other product. How's the track today?
Good.
Having fun?
Mm-hmm.
Am I fast? Medium? No thumbs up? Can I beat you? I can't beat a 6-year-old. Okay, so keep that in mind. External forces hurting the sponsorship side of the sport, and also very hard for the private teams to go up against the factories who literally can lose money on racing because it's just a form of promotion for them. They could probably also say it's R&D, so another area where you can put budget. And finally, we do not have room. Unfortunately, the pie is not big enough for 7, what we would now require manufacturers at the top of their game. I don't know what the future is for Suzuki. They, in the press release, that said that they were no longer working with JGR. And that's because JGR said, we reject your offer. The amount of money you're offering us to run this team is not enough. We're done. The Suzuki press release said they will soon announce their plans. So I don't know, maybe they'll shift some money over to the HEP team. Maybe there's another team that's racing a different brand that will switch to Suzuki. I haven't heard the word on that. It's just a bummer. It's a great history and legacy of Suzuki in the sport. You hope they can come back, but the JGR thing really hurts. Yeah, buddy?
Can you strap my helmet?
Okay, what kind of helmet do you have?
Fly.
Fly Racing. We'll sponsor anybody. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll have more on the loss of JGR. There are so many stories. Everyone that lives and breathes dirt bikes in this area has a story of hanging out with the JGR crew, going to the shop, traveling with them. It's really a big loss, and what are you doing?
Bye.
Bye. And I'm really bummed for Coy Gibbs because his heart was in the right place. Coy is one of the most likable people at the races and away from the races. He's a great dude, and he definitely tried. I think he spent a lot of money and put in a lot of effort. He didn't have to. Obviously, the Gibbs family is doing just fine in other things like NASCAR. And obviously with his dad, with all the Super Bowl titles, they didn't need to succeed in motocross. He just wanted to, and I wish there were more people like that. But unfortunately, it didn't work out again. All right, we'll see you the next time. And thanks to Honda and that CRF 450R for 2020. Get one before they're gone.